Greetings, and thank you so much for tuning in to the Barbara Dean Franklin Show, Real Talk, Real People. I am your host, Barbara Dean Franklin, and today I have the awesome pleasure of sitting with my friend, Elena Herrada. How are you today?
Good, thank you very much.
It is a pleasure to sit with you today, and I really want to thank you for taking the time out of your busy schedule to come here and sit with me. I want to tell the people a little bit about you. You're running for state rep for District 6?
Yes.
Okay, and if you could tell the people a little bit, what encompasses District 6? What makes it up?
Okay. Under the new drawing of the lines, District 6 now includes River Rouge, E-Course, all the way along the river to Belle Isle.
Okay.
And on the north, some parts of it take in 94, it goes up to Mac along all the way north and south.
Okay, all right. So on August the 5th, there's a primary election, and you're running for state rep for District 6. So people who are in that area, if you're looking for a candidate or one that is fighting for the people, then you need to mark Elena Herrada on your ballot. Let's talk a little bit about some of the things that you've done. You're a founding member of Centro Obrero Detroit, Fronteras Nortines, and Friends of Chicano Boricua Studies. Tell us a little bit about those.
Okay. Well, working from what you mentioned, the Centro Obrero of Detroit, it was an organization that several of us formed together in around 2006 to address the issues of the new immigrants that were coming to Detroit, mostly from Mexico.
Okay.
People were having problems with not getting paid for the work that they did, and being threatened with immigration if they tried to collect the wages that they had already earned, and basically being mistreated so much in the community. And at that time, following the free trade agreements, which passed in 1994 under Clinton, most people in Mexico were profoundly affected by that, and many had to leave because they didn't have any way of surviving, because the free trade agreement dumped corn into Mexico. The main thing that happened was the economy of the people basically collapsed because there was all these subsidies going in.
Okay.
So the farmers couldn't survive. When they then moved into the cities, because they didn't have any land, they didn't have any corn, they couldn't afford to compete with Walmart.
Okay.
They couldn't afford to compete with what free trade brought. So they were out of work. They left their land, and they went into the cities, and the people in the cities then were forced north.
And so what did your organization, what was your purpose? What did you do?
Well, what we did was address some of the injustices that people were facing when they ended up coming all this way.
Okay.
And many of the people didn't get to Detroit all the way until 2006. Remember, this started in 94, but a lot of people hadn't come because they were in other parts of the U.S. or they were trying to survive, and everybody had to cross illegally because there was no visas available for them to come.
Okay.
So the situation that happened to them, and we're seeing a lot of it now with these young children that are having to cross the border. I want to explain. There's an immigrant rights chant that says, "We are here because you were there," and they're talking to the U.S. because it was U.S. policies that forced them out of their homes, or multinational corporations that were the legislation started here.
I got you. So we are here now because you were there then.
Right.
And so how are you going to help us now?
Well, and then here we are.
Yes.
Okay, so there's a group of us that are descended from people who have been here since the 20s. And I kept on saying to my neighbors in the community, I never saw so many Mexicans I don't know. Because we all used to know each other.
Exactly.
We were a tiny population.
Well, I think that's just like everywhere with almost all nationalities, because when I grew up, we were a neighborhood. We knew our neighbors. We talked to each other. We helped each other. We loved on each other, Right. So you see a lot, of that. It's just not happening to you. It's happening to us,
Right.
Hey, we are here because you were there.
Right, exactly.
So,
how'd you end up here?
Exactly.
What brought you here?
Exactly.
There's push factors and there's pull factors.
Right.
And there was still work, so
Okay.
people came.
So your Friends of Chiquano, you kind of told me a little bit about that.
Yeah, Friends of Chicano Boricua Studies is part of a group of alumni, mostly, many students, but it's a program that started in around 1970 as Latino en Marcha, and it was a special admission program at Wayne State University for Latino students, which were Chicanos, which are Mexican Americans,
Okay.
born in the U.S., raised in the U.S., and Boricuas, which are Puerto Ricans.
Okay.
So those two terms we refer to, and this is a longer story, but they refer to people from what's called the internal colonies, meaning that we're American citizens, but we come from minorities within the U.S.
Okay.
So the internal colonies are Mexicans, Chicanos, African Americans, and Native Americans, and Puerto Ricans.
Okay.
Because we are citizens of the U.S., but we are second-class citizens.
All right. Okay, you also sit on the Detroit board. Are you still there?
I am a proud member of the elected Detroit School Board in
Okay.
exile.
That's-
Yes. 4 years. Yep, we've outlived 3 emergency managers, and we're going to vote the next one out. But there's a
takes
million
work.
more where they came from.
Right. And one thing that I know about you, and I met you, I was introduced to you from my good friend Siri, Siri Simpson. And Siri and I worked for AT&T for many years. She retired years ago. I retired 2 years ago. I had 36 years, so we had history. We're still friends, and Siri was a fighter. She's in the union, and if you needed something taken care of, you called Siri because you knew that you would have somebody representing you, fighting for you, and you remind me so much of her. And I think that's why you two are good friends, because you're kindred spirits, So I know I'm looking at TV, and I'm looking in the paper, and I see you being handcuffed. They're pulling you out, because you're walking and you're protesting for people's right to have water. Every time I turn around, you are, you're talking about the injustice that's happening, not just to Mexican people, but to all people,
Poor people.
Exactly. People who should have the right to something as, simple, you think, as water. So
And education.
Exactly. So what I wanted to do, I wanted to have you on here because I wanted to know why you fight so hard. I think I've heard your story. You are here. We are here because you were there. So tell me why. So people could get to know Elena, why you fight so hard for the things that you fight for.
Well, I'm really glad you asked that, because it's not just a fight. When you fight, you change things. And everything that we've seen, there wasn't always public education.
Right.
There was not always Chicano Boricua studies. That was a fight for people to have access to the university. Every single thing that has happened has occurred as a result of people making the demands in whatever way they needed to do that.
Right.
Maybe some people went to meetings, and some people threw their bodies out there, and some people went to court, and it took massive efforts of people. No one person did everything, and no one action led to change.
Exactly.
But in order to be able to encourage people that, yes, water is a human right, and you have to know that water is a human right, otherwise we'll have these people coming in and interviewing and saying, well, then who's going to pay for it? Well, let's ask Mr. Illich who pays for his water, because we do. Let's ask about, well, who's going to pay for it? How has water been provided? First of all, there were many, many jobs in Detroit, and people did those jobs, paid taxes, and we lived a decent life. Take away residency requirement, and just dismantle the structure that we had in the city to be able to survive, to provide the services to ourselves that we needed, to provide the dignity to work.
Right.
That was how we did this, and it didn't just happen. It happened through struggle. It happened through demands, through people making changes bit by bit and working together. And when I struggle and when I fight, and when I join people in battles that are worthy and where you can see there's a strategy, and even if we don't know how we're going to do it, we have to do it. It encourages everyone. Hopefully, everybody watching will say, yeah, that Detroit School Board hasn't had any power since 2009, but they're still there. They were sued by the Attorney General for being elected. The emergency manager has taken 100 schools and closed them and tripled our debt, but that school board is still fighting. Lamar Lemons and Herman Davis and Tawana Simpson, Reverend Murray, Ida Short. I'm really proud to be, we don't get paid.
Okay.
Do you know we don't get paid? I'm really proud to be a member of this school board that always figures out how we're going to sue in court, how we're going to take this to the people, how we're going to talk about this, how we're going to tell the parents, because we don't have newsletters, we have no television, we are not on, they completely erase us from the public eye so people don't even know there's a school board.
Wow.
But we never, ever fail to meet.
Okay.
We never fail to fight.
Good.
Parents will get in touch with us. Teachers get in touch with us. Principals get in touch with us. We maintain everybody's confidence because everybody's afraid of the emergency manager because there's no protection when one person can fire and hire.
Well, and that's what, as I watch you, again, I see you take on different issues. I know that you're a fighter, you're a voice, and you're not afraid to use your voice, And so I'm reading your posts and some of the things that you say. I'm like, I really admire her, because I think you're telling the truth. Now, it may be your truth. You understand, you're saying what you believe in, and I admire you for doing that, So as you go into running for state rep District 6, what are you going to bring? What are you looking to do for the people that you represent in that area?
Well, the main platforms that I'm looking at are things that have happened from the legislature. So these are things that happened by the lawmakers in Lansing. Some are Republicans and some are Democrats, and I know that the Democrats are very outnumbered, but I just don't believe that there's nothing that we can do. There is no reason that the Educational Achievement Authority should exist, and it can only exist through the complicity of many people. That means that they have not fought it. There's a few legislators outstate that have fought it, but our Detroit delegation has not stepped up against it.
Okay.
And I want to be a part of the delegation that is organized statewide. That means that we have to talk to Benton Harbor, to Flint, to Pontiac, to everybody there, all the places that have had their authority removed, and come up with a strategy to take back the right of our vote, to take back the right of the people in those places who pay taxes and have absolutely nothing to say about what happens.
Well, one thing that you said is that, we didn't just get here. The reason that you're fighting is because somebody fought before you. And it always takes a fight to make change. It takes a voice to make change. And I definitely know, and I posted the other day that I know many people think that our votes no longer count because we said that, people that, emergency manager, everybody voted against that. But how did he become anyway?
They just brought another one. With impunity. They violated our rights.
So, so some people are saying, why fight?
Yeah, and a lot of people are telling me they're not voting. I'm running for this is really interesting. I'm running for state representative in District 6, knocking on doors, and I stopped using the list. And I know a lot of people advise against this. Why are you going to talk to people that are not voters? Because if I was only talking to voters, I would have been long done. Because I'm telling you, it seems like 1 out of 10 people vote. And then a lot of people who did vote in the last election say they're not voting again. A lot of good, intelligent people. I'm not talking about people that are completely always out of the mix. I'm talking about highly political people that are refusing to vote again.
Okay, well, so let's talk about voting. I mean, because I was looking at state rep for District 5, Cynthia Johnson. I was looking at her Facebook post, and she talked about the people that are running. She put their voting records out there.
She showed their voting records.
She actually showed them, and so I'm like,
they didn't vote
at all.
People that have not voted.
Like some forever, ever.
Not good, not bad, not at all.
Exactly.
Did not go to the polls.
Exactly.
Not even fill out an absentee ballot and put it in.
So how do you run for office if you're not a part of, the equation? If you're not a voter, if you're not voting, why do I vote for you? What, but people have to vote. Regardless to whether you think that, it does not count. It won't count at all if you don't.
But who says that is people who are connected to people who didn't have a right to vote. So when you talk about voting rights, you have a memory of not being able to vote or coming from people who didn't have a right to vote. I come from people who were immigrants who came and said, "Oh, you have to vote." It was an important thing to vote. And I never ever remember missing a vote for a dog catcher, for anything, and not for any reason, even with disdain. When you vote for things, we vote against the casinos, and we got casinos. We vote against these things. We new stadium. We didn't want a new stadium. We didn't want casinos, but we got them, and we know that. Well, there must have been some people that voted for it, but then we got Duggan. Okay, another story. So looking at the process and how rigged it really is. And I find myself getting angry about the situation of this election was stolen, but if it wasn't stolen, it was bought. But, so it's either stolen or bought, which brings me to another point I wanted to
Okay.
share. I have not a penny from PACs, not a penny of political action committee money. Not that they were jumping up to give it to me.
Right.
Not everybody was just
Okay.
banging on the door trying to give me money.
But you're running anyway.
I'm running without PAC money. And I could actually win. And the reason that I want to win, I don't want to be the first nothing except the first person who could win without PAC money.
All right.
Win without money.
Okay.
Because I really feel like we could really encourage people in Detroit to run if you're not rich,
Right.
if you don't have a machine, if you don't have somebody saying, I'm leaving this office, but I'd like you to vote for this person to take my place. That's not fair.
So if you run without money and you win, how did you win?
Through talking to the people, through maybe explaining to people that it is a terribly rigged system, but we don't have another one.
Right.
Until we have another one, we're going to have to work with it.
Exactly.
To say, yeah, I'm on the school board, and nobody could be more cynical than school board members to see what the newspaper says about the schools and what the reality is. Taking children out of public schools and put them into a failing school district is it's a heartbreaking situation. And the situation that I just learned about is those kids that are in the EAA schools don't get their they don't get their grades, they don't get passed until October. That makes it impossible for them to get out of that school, so they're stuck in those failing schools. If you have a child that's going to an EAA school, get them out now. Get them out now. Because you're better off to go to no school than to go to a school that's failing you and you can't get out of it. Because if you're in no school, you can go somewhere.
Right.
But if you're stuck in this EAA school, it's basically like being sentenced to prison.
So are you saying that the children that are in the EAA school, if they wanted to get out and transfer to another school, say if they wanted to get out in June, they can't get out until October?
They can't get, and then no school will take them. They won't take them because they already have done their count. That's why they're holding them till October. But in the meantime, I have ninth graders that left Phoenix Academy and tried to get into Western High School and are told that they can't come because Phoenix didn't give them the grades that they needed. They didn't give them the transcripts.
I mean, you're saying that they're doing that, but is that legal? Can they do that?
Well, they write the laws.
I was getting ready to say
it's
they
completely
are the
rigged,
EAA.
right?
Okay. So then how do so here it is again, a good reason to vote. Can you vote? I mean, can you vote EAA out?
We can. I'll tell you what. You can vote the EAA out. You can vote the emergency manager out, but you have to have people in place who will enforce what the people have demanded, and we don't have that now. Every single legislator in the state of Michigan should have revolted when they kept Public Act 436 in there. Every single lawmaker. But they turned their backs on Detroit, Benton Harbor, Flint, Muskegon, Pontiac, all of those places. And why do you think that is?
I really don't know. I really don't know. But I do know this, that if we don't step up to make a change, the changes that we see and complain about all the time will continue to be the changes that we see and complain about all the time. It's time for us as a people. I know that, the primary, I'm seeing good people that are out here voting. I'm not political. I'm not political at all. I look at a person's heart. I watch what you say, then I find out from other people who really, are close to you, you're consistent. You say the same things over and over again. You could kind of, forget what you say to me, but you can't forget, you have to tell the truth.
Right.
You have to tell the truth, because when you start telling,
you can't keep up with your own
You
stories.
can't keep up with a lot,
Right.
So you could, you don't have to, pretend to be who you are with me. You have to live with yourself,
Right.
So I'm hoping, as I watch you, I hope that you get in, because I think I had some boxing gloves at home that I told you I wanted to bring them, because I see that you are truly a fighter. You're not afraid, and and even if you are, you're doing it afraid. You understand?
Right.
So
right. We have no choice. I want to say this about being afraid, though, because people are really generally used to following rules, and when this is something that it's very hard to explain to people, when those making rules have turned against the people, then we have to stand up to them. And sometimes that means that we're going to get arrested. Sometimes that means that we're not going to get that nice endorsement. Right. Sometimes it means that you're not going to get that money. Sometimes it means the newspapers won't even say you're in the race. But you have to be able to continuously confront wrongdoing You have to confront it, and then people will remember that's not normal. You have to not accept it.
Well, I think that a lot of people need to do their own research. You need to find out, the issues, who's running, and what you're running for, what you stand for. What are the issues that are before us that not only affect you right now, but are going to be affecting us long term? I was in the library on Monday. I was in Dearborn in the morning and Oak Park at night, and the libraries were somewhat empty,
Oh.
and people who don't have access to a computer or books, the libraries are open. They didn't ask for any money. You can go in there, you can sit down, you have access to those libraries. So we need to go in and we need to start researching the candidates that we put in office. Okay, if you get in office, this is just my commitment. I'm going to be checking on you. I'm going to
Please
make
do.
sure
Please
that
do.
you are doing exactly what you said you were going to do before you were running, And I'm hoping that, that we do that more, that, as you are out there, you're walking and you're being arrested, that people will just get up and start locking arms, with one another, supporting one another. Your fight is my fight.
That's right. That's right.
We're all in this together, because if you make a difference, if what you're fighting for changes Detroit, Southwest Detroit, along the borders or whatever, I'm going to be affected by that. It's going to be a better place for me, for my children, for my children's children. And, there's, so on. People, the young people now need to look at leaders. They need to see people who know how to fight, who fight without a gun, without weapons, without, harsh words, but reality.
Or with even by yourself, even if people are just staying away from you because they're afraid of being associated with you. And that really happens a lot in this political moment that we're in. Everyone is afraid to talk about stolen elections. Everyone is afraid to talk about voter nullification like we're dealing with under PA 436.
Well, you know that 28 minutes is a 30-minute show. It's never really enough time. But what I do want you to do, Elena, is I want you to look into that camera and I want you to speak to the people who may watch this show, the people who have a heart for the city, who may want to do something. They don't know how to do it, but just speak to them and tell them what you want them to know about you and your fight and your struggles.
Okay, thank you. I would like, first of all, for everyone to vote yes on L for libraries, because if we don't, we won't have libraries. I know there's a lot of conflict about letting bond money come in here when they take it, but we need our libraries, and many people have only the libraries. Yes on L. We still have a solid library commission that's overseeing it. And we're fighting being taken over. I want you to please show up at the Water Board, 600 Randolph, Freedom Fridays, 4 o'clock every Friday. The movement is growing to demand water as a human right. 4 o'clock on Fridays till 6 o'clock is the place to be. And vote Herrada for District 6. Thank you.
Amen, amen. So August the 5th is our primary election, and we've got to go out. We've got to make a change, and the change starts with us. Each one, reach one. Each one, teach one. We need to be the one. We have to do it, and I know I'm going to be out there. I'm going to vote. I'm going to have to call Cynthia and have her pull my voting record, okay? I'm going to tell her to inbox me, though.
Don't
put my record on Facebook, although I think that,
it could stand up to public scrutiny.
I truly believe that it would definitely stand up to public scrutiny. And I need to be more, about the issues. Just having the show has been an eye-opening for me about the different issues that are going on, the different politicians that are running, people that are running, real people. I'm not talking about politicians being political, going around shaking hands and kissing babies, just for the sake of getting a vote. But I'm talking about people that have a heart for the people that have, have a bone in the fight. You have a reason to be out there doing what you do. And again, from my heart, I truly appreciate you. And I know that you're probably on your way to, fight somewhere else, after the show. You were telling me a little bit about you were trying to help somebody for water, that people were coming from Virginia.
St. Peter's Church on Michigan and Trumbull is accepting water from our allies in West Virginia as we
Okay,
speak. In
okay.
fact, when I was leaving the house, Maureen Taylor called me and said, "Come over here and help us unload water." And I sent my daughter and I sent my neighbor, and hopefully they got there.
Okay.
And I'm sure that they did, but I wasn't able to get there. But there are people unloading water and people coming from other states to bring water.
Right. Yeah, I know that I was sharing with you that I was partnered with Detroit Public Allies. Markeisha and PQ. They
Right.
put up on Facebook that they were collecting water, and they were starting to try and help. And some of the people that follow me have donated money. I donated money, and I this is what we need. And I was excited about this. Okay, so they're turning the waters off, and they're doing these things, but we found a way to come together to help bring water to people who may be affected by the shutoff. And this is really exciting that finally a fight, that we see us coming together to do something.
I want to say something about that because people are being accused of stealing water when they turn their water back on. You cannot steal what is yours. You cannot steal what already belongs to you. What people are doing is defending themselves against theft.
Okay.
So I want to shout out that people who are giving themselves water are not criminals. People cutting off people's water are criminals.
That's criminal. Okay. Well, Elena, I thank you on August the 5th, State Rep District 6, Elena Herrada. It's been a pleasure. It's been a pleasure to finally meet you face to face. Again, I know Siri Simpson, very well. You two have very kindred spirits.
Yes.
I mean, you walked in the room. When you walked in the door and I embraced you, Siri is a fighter.
Right.
She's a scrapper. And I know, but she is a fighter for the people. She is a fighter for what is right.
Yes.
She will research. She's not just going to fight for the sake of fighting. She's going to make sure that she researches, and she's going to fight for what is right. And what is right is we the people for the people.
Right. We want to be soldiers in Siri's army.
Amen.
Right? Yes.
Amen. And so I'm going to have to end the show the way that I always do. But I just really want to thank you. I mean, from the bottom of my heart, if nobody ever says to you, thank you for all you do, I want to thank you for all that you do. And thanks for being on the show. And I am going to see you guys in a week, because next week we're a voting poll, so we won't be in the studio because they'll have to come up and pick up the machines or whatever. So I'll be on the week after next. But I want to say to you, from my beating heart to your beating heart, I love you. You understand? Okay.